Hello everyone. So today I am here. I am Jatin Bhalla. So today I am going to present onto the Azure DevOps and infrastructure as a code. How does both the things work together? I will show you what is a CI/CD pipelines and how does it work. Before that, starting the session, I would like to tell something about myself. I have an experience of 5+ years, and currently I'm working with the Coforge as a analyst of DevOps services. So I have worked on several tools, services throughout these 5 years. First, I started working onto the Azure DevOps. I got exposure on that, and I made my current future and the practices over the Azure DevOps and the Azure. So if I tell you about myself, I've worked on several tools like Terraform, ARM templates, Azure Biceps, Kubernetes, Docker, and Jenkins. Several things I've worked on till now. In this complete 5 years of experience, I've also worked on a configuration tools like Ansible. I've also worked on the monitoring tools like Grafana, Prometheus, and even worked on to the Azure monitoring. So these days I'm working on this one, and I have also given a session as an expert into the Microsoft offices. That is a little bit about myself. Now going with the slides, and going now I will going to present you how the things work into the Microsoft, what is the benefits of Azure DevOps, Azure and infrastructure as a code. So, so if I show you, this is the slides over here. So, what is a Azure DevOps? Azure DevOps is a tool which is known as a one platform for all the type of services over there. So if you see my slide over here, you will see as the Azure DevOps declares, or the Microsoft declares, this is a one platform which gives you a lot of facilities. Earlier, what was happening for the CI/CD pipelines and other things, we used to have the different tools. Like if you go with the boards, you used to have a Jira application. You need to purchase a license of it. Then you have to establish it, or you have to install it onto your you say on-premise servers or to the cloud servers. But when Azure DevOps was introduced, they resolved this issue. They thought like one platform should be there for all the problems, and the solution should be the one tool. So they introduced the boards over there into the Azure DevOps. Now going further, earlier for the control versioning or the version controlling of the code, people were using GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. Several other tools and services platform were used. Now Microsoft thought again to brought up that one of the feature into the Azure DevOps. So they introduced the Azure repositories. Under the Azure repositories for version controlling, you can use two types of services over here. If you want to use a centralized or distributed, depends upon you what type of repository you want to create onto that into the Azure. And after that, for the CI/CD pipelines, several other companies or earlier tools which was used for the open source market, and the popular one is known as the Jenkins. Besides this, there are several other tools are also available into the market, but Jenkins was the first one which was very much popular, and even nowadays many organizations are using those tools. So Azure DevOps or the Microsoft company thought about to bring up the CI/CD pipelines into the Azure DevOps as well. So they have introduced the Azure pipelines into the Azure DevOps platform. And for the test cases also, they thought about to store the test cases results, so that QA team, quality analyst team, can also work onto this tool. They brought up the Azure test plans and save their test results. You can automate, you can use a Selenium do a automation testing, or either you can also do a manual testing and save your results into the Azure DevOps. And then the third and the last one, which I will like to tell you, is about the Azure artifacts. So what is the Azure artifacts? So once you create up the packages using the CI pipeline, you need to store some packages at some location, so that in future if you want to do a rollback of the version, then what to do, where to save that packages. For that you can use a Azure artifacts. The alternate of these earlier was used like JFrog. Still we are using, most of the companies are using those JFrog and other artifact tools with where they can store the artifacts. So what is an artifacts? So if you have a Java code, okay, now when you package that Java code, you get a jar file or war file. So where do we save that? For saving that, we can use a Azure artifacts. So going further with the slides, now That is about the Azure DevOps. And Azure DevOps are also of two types. One is called the Azure DevOps Service, another one is called the Azure DevOps Servers, which was earlier known as a Team Foundation Servers and the services. So what's the difference between them? The Azure DevOps Services is a cloud services which Microsoft provide you, and the Azure DevOps Services is the one which you can download onto your on-premises servers, the data center. You start the services and start using them. Although on both the platforms you get the same type of benefits and all, but just the difference between them is that the Azure DevOps Services is a SaaS tool. So if you, in future they have to upgrade some new features or upgrade anything onto that, then in case you can use that will be done from Microsoft side. So that is a Azure DevOps service. If I talk about Azure DevOps Server, in case of Azure DevOps Server, in future you have to upgrade your versions, you have to bring up new features, then you have to use do it manually. You will need to do that on your side. You need to have some virtual machines or on-premises servers on which you will deploy that server, Azure DevOps services and servers. Although in that you get the same features like boards and also Azure artifacts, CI/CD pipeline, test plans, all those things, repositories, all those things are similar in both service and server. Just it varies where you how you're using those services of the Azure DevOps and from where you are going to use it in future. Now, if I talk more about it, then what happens in Azure DevOps? Mostly people are aware of what is a CI/CD pipeline. So actually, what is a CI/CD pipeline is continuous integration and continuous deployment. So what's the difference between them? For continuous integration, you first should apply a set of tasks into it. Applying a set of tasks means you put up step 1, step 2, step 3. For example, you have a Java code into your repository. Now what happens after creating up a repository? What need to be done with that code? So you will run up a set of tasks, the steps onto that repository, and you will get some package, and then you can deploy that package into the services, either IaaS services, PaaS services, or SaaS services. So in that perspective, now if you have a Java code, for example, and then you are creating up a jar file out of it from your local system. Now you want to do it from the SaaS product like Azure DevOps or Jenkins or any other tool. So what happens in that case? You run up a set of tasks on it. So set of tasks is like, first, if you have a Java code, then you will build that using the goal of that. You can use a you can say over there you can run up a goal called packages. You will run up a package, and then you can also put up other tasks, like for testing purpose of the code you can use a sonar cube analysis. You can run the sonar cube analysis. You can also stop or break the pipeline on the basis of sonar cloud analysis results, and then you can publish those artifacts either into the Azure artifactories, either onto a JFrog artifactories. Between them, these tasks, you can add additional tasks as per your requirements. You can also add a Twilio task to send up the SMS to your mobile once the pipeline gets successfully completed. Now, in the Azure DevOps, if you're going with the CI/CD pipelines, in a CI pipeline, you can create a pipeline with two options. One is called a YAML pipeline, and another one is called a classic pipeline, which I will going to show you in next few minutes. But these are the features of the Azure DevOps. If I talk about in Jenkins, then you have to write up the code, or you can say you have to write up a script. So there are two type of scripting into the Jenkins: descripted and this another one is called descripted and the scripted languages. So declarative pipeline and the scripted pipeline, these are the two type of pipelines which you have to write in Jenkins. It can be and it is usually written in Groovy language. So in compare to if I compare between the Jenkins and the Azure DevOps, if you are a beginner, in Azure DevOps you also get a by default templates. With the help of those templates you can learn easily. For new learners, for the new beginners who don't have much knowledge of what is a CI/CD pipelines, Azure DevOps is a tool which helps you in a great way to learn and grow. So I will go through that before going to this. This is the features I was talking about. As you see on my slide, Azure DevOps is a Azure DevOps provide you these types of services: Azure boards, Azure pipeline, Azure repositories, Azure test plans, Azure artifacts. Then going further, what is a dashboard? Dashboard is like a system which provides a project summary. Like you create a dashboard for the Grafana or to monitor the tools. It's like a widgets you added over there. Multiple widgets will be added, and after adding up the multiple widgets, you can get a dashboard from there. In a one view, you can get them more of the results. So if you see in this image, dashboards looks like this over here. So it creates a report for you. If you are a manager or anyone who wants to extract the reports, then you can usually go with the Azure boards and extract the information from the servers or the anywhere from where you want to integrate it. Then we have a Azure Devops board. So this is majorly used by the Scrum Master and the management team. So it usually checks the progress of your project. So example, they have created some user story of they have created some task and they want to assign it to the developers or the testers. They will work on to those tasks. They will report onto the boards, and now manager can instead of asking individuals what is the progress and how it is going on, they can go to the Azure DevOps boards, and from there they can start looking at the progress of the product. So it becomes very easy to track the project, how is it going on, and what are the things working on right now onto the project. Now, Azure repositories, as I told you, Azure DevOps provides your repository two types. One is called a centralized, another one is called a distributed. Example of centralized is TFVC, and the example of the distributed is Git. So you can create any of them. In one project of Azure DevOps, you can create only one centralized, but you can create a multiple distributed repositories in the Azure DevOps repos. Now going further, we have Azure DevOps pipelines. So as you will see, whenever you will search for the keyword which is a DevOps, it will show you like this icon infinity, and this is usually called as a process. So what is a process in this one? Usually people or the developer write up the code, then they build it, test it, and they deploy onto the servers. Then they again do the monitoring onto it, get the feedback from the customer and from the clients, and they again make changes into the code, build, test. So this type of progress goes on in a one application or any of the projects. So this is a infinity process, because people or the developers will bring up new changes into the code and deploy those new changes, and new versions will be upgraded or coming will be launched into the market. For example, you have if I show you, for example, in a when you go with the iOS upgrades or any of the software upgrades, it comes in a monthly basis or weekly basis. So what happens, once they have released one version, they go ahead and again make some changes and try to enhance the security, bring up new features. So that helps you in case of increasing up the proficiency, and also helps you in delivering the project on time. That is the use of the DevOps. uh, and next part comes about the DevOps test plans. These are used by the QA team to save the reports and to run up their test scripts onto the code or the application which they have created. Now, last one is the Azure Artifacts. Now, Azure Artifacts is usually used for the storing up the artifacts like packages. Like I told you, like Maven, we have a build jar file, war file. So that will be stored in Azure Artifacts over here. Now, like as I promised at the starting of the session, the first thing we will talk about today is infrastructure as a code and the Azure DevOps. So what is the infrastructure as a code? Infrastructure as a code means the advantage of infrastructure of the code, it could be like creating up your environment into the Azure portal. So actually what happens in infrastructure code, earlier what we used to do, if you have to create some resources onto the cloud or any other way, you go and do that manually. But now instead of that, what you can do, you can write up the script. So the most popular tools into the market for the infrastructure as a code is Terraform, ARM template, Azure Biceps. Terraform is an open source tool created by HashiCorp, and using that code languages, so you can create up your resources. I will show you that code. How does it look like? Using that code, you can create up the resources into the Azure. So like for example, you are working as an admin in a company. Now you got it task, that in a task you have to create 100 virtual machines. So instead of creating the 100 virtual machines manually, you can write up a code and just give up a number that you want to create 100 virtual machines. So 100 virtual machines will be up and running in just one click. So using this technology, you can save the time, you can also save the cost and each and everything. So that is the advantage of the infrastructure as a code. Using the Terraform, you can deploy on any of the cloud service providers. Either it is a Azure, AWS, either GCP, on-premises servers also it works. But Azure has also created their own services, which is known as the ARM template and Azure Biceps. So Azure template or Azure, if I talk about ARM templates, in a ARM templates, it is written in JSON file format, and usually it's just used for creating up the resources in the Azure. Using the ARM templates, you can only create the resources into the Azure, but not on any other platform. But using the Terraform, you create it into the any platform, either it is a AWS or any service providers, you can create it. But if I compare, ARM templates are much more easier. And next, last year only, Microsoft introduced Azure Biceps. So what is the advantage of Azure Biceps? On a background, Azure Biceps work onto the same technology as ARM templates work. You can convert the Azure Biceps to ARM templates, and also you can convert the ARM template to Azure Biceps using a single command. But advantage of Azure Biceps over ARM templates is Azure Biceps is easy to write, and even you don't have to take care of the indentation or something, brackets or other things. In case of ARM templates, you have to take care of those things as well. So if you are a beginner and want to learn, and using the Azure Biceps will be much more easier to deploy your code and run a code and create the infrastructure. So today I will be giving you the presentation on to the Terraform. So Terraform is an open source infrastructure as code tool. As I told you, it was written by HashiCorp. So usually the language which it supports is HashiCorp configuration language, and optionally they also call it as a JSON file. So you create up a template, you create up the modules, and using that modules you can deploy the resources into the Azure, which I'm going to show you today. So before that, there are few basic commands of the Terraform, that is init, plan, apply, and destroy. Init command is used to initiate the Terraform packages or the configuration file to a directory. And after that, once it is done, you can run up a plan. What is the use of a Terraform plan is that it will check that what all resources you have applied over there, or what all resources will be created over there. It will check the code. If it validates it's good, then we can run up a Terraform apply. In case of Terraform apply, it will start creating your resources which you have defined into your code. So it will start creating up all the resources, it will start deploying that, and once the apply is done, you can go to the Azure, and then you can see in your resource group that your resources are now up and running. That is done. Now let's suppose you have created up the resources, now you want to delete it after some time. So what you can do, you can use a command called as destroy. Using the destroy command, you can delete all of your resources. So whatever you have created using the Terraform, similarly you can destroy them using the Terraform destroy command. Now this is the one, this is a snapshot how does the Terraform code looks like. So if you see over here, there I have on a left side I have created multiple you can say modules for each and every type of services. Now on the right side, if you see, this is a main file to create up the storage account. So in this one you can see I am creating up the storage account, and I have defined several things. This is how the Terraform code looks like. If I execute this code, my storage account will be up and running. So this Terraform code can be executed from your local as well, and also you can deploy it using the Azure DevOps pipeline. The benefit of using the Azure DevOps pipeline over the from the local one is, like, if you store up the code onto your local, okay, now if you have trying to execute it, your Terraform state file will be stored under the you can say in your local place. But instead of that, I want that Terraform state file should be stored under some a common place from where anybody from my company can extract the information or can run up the queries. So if I another advantage is if I store the code on my local and another team player wants to run up the code and wants to create up the resources, he can't do it. So what I will do in that case, if I this is the if I show you, this is the Azure DevOps. Under the Azure DevOps, I have created the multiple projects. If I give you an overview of the Azure DevOps, once you will log in, if you're a new beginner, if you want to start creating up the or working onto the Azure DevOps, you can create a Microsoft account and start using the dev dot just try to hit this page dev.azure.com. You will be they will be asking your Microsoft credentials, enter those credentials, and after that they will ask you to create your organization name. This is the organization name for myself, but in your case your organization name will be different, and this organization name will be unique throughout the world. So if I own this name, you can't use the same name. I can provide you the permissions of my organization, and then we both can work onto the same organization. But if I don't provide you permission, you can't access this organization, or you can't keep the organization name with the same one. So this is unique. Once the organization is created, now you can create a multiple projects. As you see under new, there are multiple projects option. You put up a project name. You can create a two types of project, either public or private. Depends upon how you want to create it. So if you want to share up the data throughout the world or anybody can access it, then you can create a public. But in case of private, only the persons who have the access, proper security is taken care in case of the private. So if I tell you, this is the work item process, like in Scrum models or Agile models are there. These are the different models, and this usually makes a reflections onto the Azure boards. Okay, so you can use any of them. Just click after that, put up the name. Let's suppose today I'm keeping up the name of this one, 30 days, 30 experts. Once the name I have entered, you can click on create and you can see my project will be created. This is how we create up a project. In one organization, you can create a multiple projects as well. Okay. Now, this was the project I have just created, but for the Terraform demonstration, I have already created one of the project, which is known as Terraform. Under this Terraform project, if you see, there all these options are available into this one. You can see we have the overview. This is called a dashboards, which I was explaining you earlier. You can create a different widgets and add it over here. Then you have a boards. Under the boards, you can create the work items, and after creating up the work item, you can assign it to someone, and that person will start working on to these items or the task which has been assigned to that person. In this one, you also have a sprint. So in a usually in a company, sprint goes for 15 days though. So what is a sprint? So actually we have a team. So in sprint, we always predict, or we always define what all tasks needs to be done in next 15 days. So from here under the sprints, we can see what all task has been done in past in those 15 days, and what all tasks need to be done in next upcoming 15 days. So you can maintain all those things under this sprints option. Then you have a repositories. Under these repositories, you can see I have created one of the Git repository. Under this repository, I have stored up my code, which is for the Terraform. This is the all modules for each and individual services onto the Azure. So if I run up this code, okay, now what will happen? It will start creating up all those services onto my Azure account, that is the Azure portal. So Azure DevOps is if you log into dev.azure.com, you will go to the Azure DevOps. If you go with the portal.azure.com, you will go to the services. So what's the difference between them? Azure DevOps is usually used for CI/CD pipelines for management of the project. Azure portal is the one on which you create up the services. So in this one, you can store up the code, and using that, this one you will deploy the code onto the Azure services, which is, and Azure services will be where it will be under the portal.azure.com. Now under the this one into the Azure services, there are multiple services of the Azure. If you see, these type of all services are available in the Azure. Now if you want to deploy the code, it depends upon on what services you want to deploy. So either you can use the VM machine. These are all the services of the Microsoft. Either you can deploy it onto a VM machine, either you can use a AKS cluster, as these days AKS cluster, Docker are highly popular into the market. So you can use any of them. Either you can use a these one Kubernetes, or either you can use a Docker, or using a Docker you can deploy onto the Kubernetes. Even we have the app services. App services are also known as a PaaS services. So all these type of services are available onto the Azure portal. So now what I will do, if you see, I have already created one of the resource groups. So what is a resource group? Resource group is just a logical grouping of your resources. So I have already created one of the resource group, and under this, if you see, only one resource exists for now, that is the storage account. And even I have this storage account because I need to store the tf state file of this particular Terraform code into this particular storage account. That's why I have already created this one of the storage account, and once I will run this particular Terraform code, its tf state file will be stored under this Terraform storage account under the containers. So we have a blob containers over here where you store up the unstructured data. So if you see over here, we have the containers. Under this container, we have the container name as Terraform. So under this Terraform folder, the blob storage, my tf state file will be stored once I will run this particular code. Now if you going back to the Azure DevOps, these are the different modules as I've shown you. So what happens, these are the different services of the Azure portal. From there, now these are the individual services. Now I have to deploy them all together. So what I have done, I have created one of the main file. If you see this particular main file, I have called up these particular modules individually. So for example, in this one, I'm calling up a module app service plans. So if I'm putting up the reference of the Azure app service plans, and if I run this code, what will happen? My app service plans will be created into this resource group, because I have already defined those things under the variable group. If you see this CI/CD pipelines, these are the libraries. These are called as a variable groups. In this, I have already created a micro dev as a variable group. So when I will run up the pipeline, it will take those values from here and it will show that what need to be done. So if you see, we have the environment identifier, product name, resource group, and this is the container name, and this is the resource group name, this is a storage account name under which my tf state file will be stored, and where the resources will be created, it will be created under the resource group Terraform over here. So if you see this one, these are the variable groups. Now I have a CI/CD pipelines. Like we discussed earlier, there are two types of pipelines in Azure DevOps. That is called, one is called a YAML, another is known as a classic. If I show you, my current pipeline is on YAML. So I have written up a YAML pipeline. I will show you how does it look like. This is a YAML pipeline. If you see, in this, I have added up several tasks. So what is the first task? I have added a replace tokens. Why I have added a replace tokens? Because I want to keep my environment dynamic, because it can because multiple people will be executing this code and they will put up their own values into this one. So what I did, I have in my idea was like, we will create about different variable groups, and it will bring up the values from the variable group and put it into the Terraform code. So that's why I've used the replace tokens over here. So it will take the values from the that variable group which I have created under the library, and it will replace those value in my code where it will replaces. So if I show you, there is a file called variable file. This is the variable file over here. Under this variable file, if you see, these are the values. So these values will be picked up from that variable group, and those will be replaced using that task, which is known as a replace tokens. So I'm replacing those values using the replace tokens task. Now the next task comes about the Terraform init. As I was showing you the PPT, in that PPT it was mentioned that first command we have to do is Terraform init. Terraform init will initialize the configuration file into a directory. So I will do a Terraform init over there. It will initialize onto my agent. And agents are also of two types: self-hosted agent and the Azure DevOps Microsoft hosted agent. In my case, I am using the self-hosted agent. Now, using the Terraform init, I have initialized the Terraform over there. Now, the next thing come over here is the Terraform plan. So as I told you in PPT, Terraform plan will check what all resources need to be created. It will also validate my code. I have written it up. Once it is done, once it is passed, then we have to run up a Terraform apply. So once you will do a Terraform apply, it will create a tf state file in my storage account, which I have mentioned, under which my tf state file will be stored. What is the use of a Terraform state file? It is just used to store the history, or you can say the current status. What is the current status of it? So for that perspective, you use a Terraform state file. If you have created up the resources, what all resources were created. If you have destroyed resources, what all resources has been deleted. All those things will be stored under the Terraform state file. Now once the apply is executed, apply means your resources will start creating it up. So once it is created, you are good. You can start using your resources in whatever way you want to use it. Now in future, if you believe that I don't want to use those resources, or I want to delete those resources, so what you can do, you can use a Terraform destroy. In my particular pipeline, if you see, I have entered both these steps: Terraform apply also, Terraform destroy also. But if you see, I have only enabled this Terraform apply for now, and I have disabled the Terraform destroy for now. Why? Because if I enable both of them, what will happen? First, it will create the resources, and this task will destroy the resources. uh, so I don't want to destroy at the same time. But in future, if I want to do it, like for example, a month, I want to delete up my resources, what I will do, I will disable this task and I will enable this task, Terraform destroy. So it will delete all my resources. Now if I show you over here, now if I click onto a run pipeline, okay, now it is asking for my product name. I will give up a product name as micro. As I have entered it, the why I have given the environment name as dev and product, because if I want to delete or if I want to create up the resources, in that resources I have to put up the name or some particular name, that for which environment I'm going to deploy it. So I will take up a dev, click on run. Now my pipeline has started executed. Now in this one, you can, if I click, it will show you the complete logs, like what is happening right now onto that progress of that particular pipeline. So meanwhile it is running, I will tell you something about the classic pipeline as well, because if you are a beginner or if you are an expert as well and you need some assistance from the Microsoft side while it is running, if you are new, you can also create up a pipeline using a classic pipeline. If you're not aware of the YAML pipeline, how to do it, so what you can do, you will click onto a new pipeline. Under the new pipeline, one way, if you want to create a YAML, so in a YAML you will store the your repository. Under the repository, you will store the YAML pipeline code under a repository. Or even if you want to integrate your particular Azure DevOps with any other third-party tool like Bitbucket Cloud, GitHub, or any other, okay, you can use that. Also for that you need to create a service connection, otherwise you can directly use the Azure repos git. Now for YAML pipeline, you need to store your task or the code which I have shown you. The set of tasks will be stored under the Azure repositories YAML file. Otherwise, if you want to use a classic editor, click on classic editor over here. For example, you're a beginner, okay, now you have stored up your code into some particular repository. Let's suppose that repository name is XYZ or Terraform or Java. You take up the reference of that repository where your code resides, click on continue. Now over here you can see there are multiple type of jobs or the packages has been over here. For example, now your code is on ASP.NET. What you will do, you will click on apply, and once you click on apply on ASP.NET, by default you will get a all list of tasks over here in a series, in a set of steps how you want to run it. So now what you will do, you will just make few of the modifications over here, and then you can run up your pipeline, and your pipeline will create one package out of it. If it is a Java, it will create a jar or var file. So that will happen with the classic pipeline. It becomes very easy over here. So that was about the classic pipeline. You can also run up the Terraform code using the classic pipeline, but for myself, I have used the YAML pipeline for the demonstration. So meanwhile it's running, let's see what is happening onto a Terraform pipeline which we have executed. So it still shows it is running, and over here if I see what is happening, it is on what state. So Terraform plan, init, install were successful. Now it is creating up my resources. So once it will start creating up my resources, you will see a number of resources will be increased over here. So let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes. You will see it is it will create the resources onto this Azure portal. Okay, now this was for the infrastructure as a code. Now what happens in a company when you create a CI pipeline for deployment of a tool or a project or a jar file or .NET, you create a pipeline according to the code type you have written up. Now if you want to deploy that onto a different stages are like usually what happens in a company. We have different stages: dev, QA, UAT, and production. Why we have those stages? Because one application, before going to the live, they need to test it on their local as well. They have to test it on through their servers as well. So for that perspective, we use the releases. In the releases, we create a different pipelines, and under one pipeline we create a different stages. So if I click onto a new pipeline, you will see we can see where the add an artifact option means from where you want to take up the package. You can take up a package from the, either you can say Azure artifacts, or either you can JFrog artifacts. Even you can take it from a build pipeline. From here you have those options. Onto this one, you can integrate with any of them and use the artifacts from that location. So that is the releases. In the releases, usually we create different environments, and then we deploy the code into different environment. If it is going to the dev servers, we will test over there. We will developers will work. If we are going for the QA team will work. Then at the last it will goes to the production, because once all approvals and all gives the green light, it means now it's ready to be deployed onto the production. So that is the advantage of the CI/CD pipelines. And why we call it up a CI/CD pipelines? Because it makes a continuous integration, continuous deployment. What do you mean by that? So the processes which I'm doing right now is quite you can say a manual one. I have executed this pipeline manually. Instead of that, what I could have done, I could have also put up the option called as trigger. So what is the use of that? As soon as a developer makes any changes into this repository, what will happen, the Azure DevOps will automatically pick up that some changes has been made recently. I have to execute the pipeline. The build pipeline will execute, and if you have triggered the continuous deployment as well, automatically a new release will be created. Once the new release will be created, automatically it will be deployed onto the dev server, QA server, or whatever server you want to deploy. It will be deployed just in few minutes. So it made life very easy for the developers, because in a one save and one click and one commit, all the task is done automatically. Now as you can see, my Terraform code is still running up. Meanwhile, we will go into the Azure portal and see if any of the resources got created. If I clicked on refresh, now see if you see over here, earlier there was only one storage account, Terraform Jatin. Now you can see multiple resources got created using the Terraform code and using the Azure DevOps pipeline. So it will take around 3 to 4 minutes more to create up the resources. And if you see the logs, what is happening right now, key vault has been created. App services is still under there in creation mode. So you can also see the logs from this particular outcome. And currently it is running up onto my using my self-hosted agent. It is running up the code. Now you see the Terraform apply is also done. It means the resources which I wanted to create it with the Terraform using the pipeline, all are created, and my pipeline is successful now. Okay. So if I go back to the Terraform resource group, which is in Azure portal, my all services are now up and running over here. Now, if I want to delete up these resources, what I will do, I will go back to my code. I will disable the option of the apply. I will just put it like false, and put over here I will put it like a true. Now save it, save the changes. Now run this pipeline. Now I'm re-executing this pipeline to delete the resources which I've just created using the Azure DevOps. Now, once this particular complete pipeline will be executed, my resources of the from the Azure this particular resource group will be deleted. How does it all happening? Because the Terraform state file has been stored into this particular blob storage. If I show you that Terraform state file, it will be here under the containers, blob storage. Click on to Terraform, and you will see a Terraform state file will be here. So over here, the Terraform states are stored. The state of those resources has been stored over here. So my pipeline is still executing. Let's wait for 1 or 2 minutes. You will see Terraform destroy will start destroying the resources from this particular resource group. For Terraform destroy, also you have to do a Terraform init plan, and then you can destroy it. There are multiple commands with the Terraform also, but these are the basic commands which a person should know to create or destroy the resources. There are several other commands are also there, like validate and also do a check of the code. Many things can be done with the Terraform as well, but these are the basic commands onto this one. Meanwhile, it is running. I can also show you my Terraform code. Into this Terraform code, I am creating multiple one. And how will a Terraform, like I told you, Terraform is an open source tool. It can create up the resources at any location. So how will it get to know that we have to create it? Into this particular one, if you see, the providers file, I have declared under which services I want to, or the sources I want to create up this particular services. So over here I have declared the Azure RM. So provider means that under the these resources will create under the Azure account. If you want to go with this AWS or any other one, then the provider name will be changed into this perspective. Let me go back and see from this pipeline. It is still running on Terraform plan. These are the complete logs of Terraform plan. Minus means that these all resources will be get create and deleted once it will show you into the Terraform destroy. These are complete output. You can see the logs from here. And if I want to see my job is running on which agent or pool, you can click onto resources provision, or even you can onto the first option. Over here you can see the pool name is default, agent name is desktop, and this is my agent name on which I am running up these services. Using this agent, my this task is getting completed. If you're using a Microsoft hosted agent, then it will show you the agent like Windows or Linux, what type of agent you are using, what operating system you are using. It will be shown over here. Now we are on to a Terraform destroy step. So it will start destroying up my resources from this Terraform resource group. And you will see that it will delete only the resources which I have created using the Terraform. It will not delete this storage account, because in a TF state file, we don't have a reference that this resource was created using the Terraform. And if I want that all the existing resources state should be stored under the tf state file, then we have a Terraform import command. Using the Terraform import command, you can bring up the services or the state of the existing services onto this tf state file. This can be used. For example, I have created this Terraform Jatin storage account using the manual process. I want to pull the state of this into the Terraform state file. I can use a Terraform import command. Now you can see the destroy has started. Now it has started destroying. If you see this red and in minus, it means it is deleting all those resources which is mentioned into this particular logs file. Let's refresh and see if any of them got deleted. I think it's still running, so it will be deleted soon from here. Now it has started destroying the function app, key vault, all those things had been started for the destruction. Now let me refresh. You can see now items has been reduced. Terraform destroy is successful. It will take a few seconds to reflect over here. Now you can see most of the resources has been deleted. Now Terraform app service plan is left only. It will delete all of them. Now you can see all the resources which I have created got deleted. So that's all from my side. I hope you have a great session with me and you have learned something new. It was very nice talking to you, and it went very well. Thank you everyone. Have a good day.